Deep in the rugged wilderness of Montana's Bitterroot Valley, where ancient pines whisper secrets to the wind and mountains pierce the sky like nature's watchtowers, an extraordinary tale unfolded that would challenge everything we thought we knew about the delicate dance between humans and wildlife. This is the story of how one woman's garden became the stage for a remarkable series of events that would not only transform her life, but reshape an entire community's understanding of the wild creatures who share our world. Sarah Mitchell never expected her quiet morning routine to shatter the boundaries between the civilized world and raw nature. At 68, the former wildlife photographer had chosen solitude in her comfortable cabin 15 miles from Pinewood Creek, finding peace in the rhythmic seasons of mountain life. Her morning ritual of tending to her thriving vegetable garden while watching the sunrise paint the Bitterroot Mountains in watercolor hues was usually interrupted only by birdsong and the occasional distant elk bugle. That spring morning began like any other, with Sarah kneeling in the soft earth, carefully checking her emerging pea shoots. The air carried the crisp sweetness of melting snow and new growth, a promise of the warming season ahead. But as she reached to pull a persistent weed, an unusual sound caught her attention, a high-pitched whimper that seemed out of place among the familiar morning chorus of her mountain home. Sarah's years behind the camera had taught her to move with deliberate slowness when investigating wildlife. Rising carefully, she followed the sound to the far corner of her garden, where her raspberry bushes created a natural barrier between her cultivated space and the wild forest beyond. There, partially hidden beneath the thorny branches, she discovered a sight that stopped her heart. 3 tiny black bear cubs, no more than a few weeks old, huddled together in clear distress. Her first instinct was to retreat immediately. Every Montanan knew the cardinal rule: where there are cubs, a mother bear is never far behind. But something about their desperate cries held her in place. Through her trained photographer's eye, she noticed signs that worried her: their matted fur, their seemingly weakened state, and most concerning, their relentless calling that spoke of hours, perhaps days, of separation from their mother. Sarah's mind raced through her options. The ranger station was hours away, and cell service in her remote location was spotty at best. As she contemplated her next move, a sound froze her in place, the unmistakable heavy huffing of an adult black bear. Slowly turning her head, Sarah found herself face to face with the cub's mother, a magnificent creature standing at full height mere yards away. Time seemed to suspend as woman and bear regarded each other. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest, but years of wildlife observation had taught her to read animal behavior. The mother bear's posture, while alert, didn't show the typical signs of aggression. Instead, there was something almost desperate in the way she swayed, something that spoke of exhaustion and pain. That's when Sarah noticed the blood matting the fur on the bear's left flank, a deep gash that explained everything. The mother had been injured, likely forcing her to leave her cubs hidden while she sought food or tried to recover. Now she had returned, but in a weakened state that put both her and her cubs at risk. What happened next would defy conventional wisdom and begin a chain of events that would ripple through the Bitterroot Valley for years to come. Instead of running or displaying aggression, the mother bear slowly lowered herself to all fours, her eyes never leaving Sarah's. In that moment, something passed between them, a recognition perhaps of shared maternal instinct, or simply the universal language of creatures in need. Sarah knew she was about to break every rule in the book about wildlife interaction. With slow, deliberate movements, she began talking softly to the mother bear, her voice carrying the same soothing tone she had once used to calm injured animals she photographed. "You're hurt, Mama," she murmured, "and I think I can help." Over the next several hours, a remarkable scene unfolded in Sarah's garden. Using her knowledge of wildlife first aid, gained from years of working alongside veterinarians during her photography career, she began a careful dance of earning the mother bear's trust. She placed water and honey-soaked berries at increasing distances from the cubs, allowing the mother to drink and eat while maintaining her protective watch. Dr. Mike Thompson, the local veterinarian who had often accompanied Sarah on her photography expeditions, arrived after receiving her emergency text. His initial shock at finding his friend calmly sitting near a family of bears turned to amazement as he witnessed the extraordinary level of trust the mother bear displayed. With Sarah's calming presence, he was able to approach close enough to administer antibiotics and clean the wound, a deep cut, likely caused by an illegal trap. The mother bear, whom Sarah began calling Luna for the distinctive crescent marking on her chest, seemed to understand they were helping. She remained calm as Dr. Thompson worked, only occasionally huffing soft warnings when he moved too quickly. Her cubs, who would later be known as Scout, River, and Sky, began showing signs of improvement as they were provided with proper nourishment under their mother's watchful eye. What began as a tense emergency slowly transformed into something unprecedented. Luna and her cubs remained in Sarah's garden for 5 days, allowing their makeshift human medical team to treat the wound until it showed clear signs of healing. During this time, Sarah documented everything with her camera, capturing remarkable moments of trust and interaction that would later become crucial evidence in changing local wildlife protection laws. Word of the extraordinary events began spreading through Pinewood Creek. Ranger Jenny Rodriguez initially arrived ready to shut down what she assumed was a dangerous situation, only to find herself witnessing something that would challenge her 20 years of wildlife management experience. The bears were neither fully wild nor tame, but seemed to exist in a new category of understanding with their human helpers. As Luna's strength returned, Sarah and Dr. Thompson began preparing for the family's return to the wild. They knew the bears needed to maintain their natural instincts and behaviors, but nature had other plans, ones that would prove this was more than a temporary encounter between species. Luna led her cubs back into the forest once she had recovered, but she didn't disappear entirely. Instead, she established a territory that included Sarah's property, something unprecedented in recorded black bear behavior. Over the following months, she would often bring her cubs to the edge of the garden, allowing Sarah to photograph their growth and development while maintaining a respectful distance. The bears' continued presence led to unexpected benefits for the entire area. Luna's family became unwitting guardians of the local ecosystem. Their regular patrols discouraged poachers, who had been placing illegal traps in the region. Other wildlife, sensing the stable presence of the bear family, began returning to areas they had abandoned, creating a more balanced environment. But it was during the following spring that the true depth of this unique relationship revealed itself. Sarah had been documenting the bear's behavior when she heard the unmistakable sound of illegal logging operations nearby. Before she could react, Luna and her now nearly grown cubs emerged from the forest, positioning themselves strategically around the garden. Their presence, along with Sarah's photographic evidence, was enough to deter the illegal operation and eventually led to the arrest of a logging crew that had been devastating protected areas throughout the region. The story of Sarah and Luna's unlikely alliance captured national attention. Wildlife researchers and conservationists began studying the unique relationship, documenting how the bears maintained their wild nature while demonstrating unprecedented levels of trust and cooperation with their human neighbors. Their findings would eventually influence wildlife management policies across the country, promoting more nuanced approaches to human-wildlife conflict resolution. What began as a chance encounter in a mountain garden grew into a powerful testament to the possibilities that exist when humans approach wildlife with respect and compassion. Sarah's garden became a living laboratory, demonstrating how human development and wildlife could coexist when given the chance. Luna and her cubs continued to thrive in their forest home while occasionally visiting the garden where their extraordinary story began. Today, Sarah's photographs of Luna's family hang in wildlife centers across the country, teaching new generations about the delicate balance between human spaces and wild places. The Bitterroot Valley has become a model for wildlife conservation, with new programs based on the understanding that sometimes the best solution isn't to draw hard lines between human and wild spaces, but to find ways to help both worlds thrive together. This remarkable tale reminds us that nature's greatest lessons often come when we're willing to look past our preconceptions and trust in the possibility of understanding across species. Sometimes, in the most unexpected moments, we discover that the lines we draw between wild and tame, between helper and helped, are more fluid than we ever imagined. If this story touched your heart, preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Take a moment to consider your own relationship with the wild spaces and creatures around you. Remember that every interaction with nature is an opportunity to build understanding and respect. Share this story with others who might need a reminder of the extraordinary connections possible between humans and wildlife. Don't forget to subscribe to see more inspiring tales of hope, courage, and the remarkable bonds that can form between species when we open our hearts to the possibilities. As autumn painted the Bitterroot Valley in brilliant shades of amber and gold, the relationship between Sarah Mitchell and the bear family she had helped save took an unexpected turn that would challenge everything local wildlife experts thought. They knew about animal intelligence and gratitude. The morning frost had just begun to dust the fallen leaves when Sarah noticed something peculiar about Luna's behavior during one of the bear family's regular visits to the garden's edge. The massive black bear seemed agitated, pacing back and forth while making soft vocalizations that Sarah had never heard before. Through her telephoto lens, Sarah observed Luna repeatedly looking toward the distant ridgeline, then back at her. Cubs, now nearly full-grown, but still staying close to their mother. Something was clearly troubling the bear, and years of wildlife observation had taught Sarah to pay attention to such changes in animal behavior. That evening, the first snowflakes of the season began to fall, bringing with them an ominous silence that experienced mountain dwellers recognized as a harbinger of severe weather. Sarah's weather radio crackled with warnings of an approaching storm system, one that threatened to be the worst in recent memory. But it wasn't until the next morning that she understood Luna's apparent anxiety. Through the swirling snow, Sarah spotted movement along the ridge that Luna had been watching. Using her professional camera equipment, she captured images that would later become crucial evidence. A group of wolves, unusually large and numerous for the region, had moved into the area. Local rangers would later confirm these were part of a pack displaced by wildfires in neighboring states, their natural hunting grounds destroyed, forcing them into new territories. The presence of such a large wolf pack posed a serious threat, not just to the local wildlife, but to the livestock in neighboring ranches and potentially even to humans. Sarah immediately began documenting their movements, her photographer's instinct telling her this could become a significant issue for the valley. What she didn't realize was that Luna and her family had already devised their own response to the situation. Over the next several weeks, a remarkable pattern emerged. Luna and her cubs established a complex patrol system around not just Sarah's property, but the entire section of the valley that included several small farms and ranches. They seemed to be deliberately creating a buffer zone between the wolf pack's territory and human settlements. Dr. James Wilson, a wildlife behavior expert who had been studying Luna's family, was astounded by the sophistication of their strategy. The bears would take turns standing guard, with Scout, the largest of the cubs, often watching from elevated positions while River and Sky patrolled the lower grounds. Luna herself would make regular circuits of the entire area, marking territory and maintaining a powerful presence that even the desperate wolf pack seemed reluctant to challenge. But it was their method of warning humans about wolf activity that truly defied explanation. On days when the wolves were particularly active, Luna would deliberately make her presence known near human structures, not in a threatening way, but clearly trying to draw attention. She would then lead anyone who followed at a safe distance to vantage points where the wolves could be spotted, effectively creating an early warning system for the community. Tom Henderson, Sarah's closest neighbor, became the first to benefit from this unusual arrangement when Luna's warning helped him protect his horses from what could have been a devastating wolf attack. The situation reached a critical point during a particularly harsh winter storm that cut off power to much of the valley. With communications down and roads impassable, the isolated community faced not only the threat of the weather, but also increasingly bold wolves driven by hunger. It was during this crisis that Luna and her family demonstrated a level of cooperative behavior that would later be studied in wildlife research centers across the country. Sarah awoke one frigid morning to find Luna and Scout deliberately making noise outside her cabin. Through the heavy snowfall, she could barely make out River and Sky positioned strategically along the tree line. Following Luna's gaze, Sarah spotted movement in the distance. The wolf pack had split into smaller groups, apparently planning to take advantage of the storm's confusion to raid multiple properties simultaneously. What happened next was captured on Sarah's cameras and would later become the subject of intensive scientific study. Luna's family coordinated with remarkable precision, using their size and strength not to attack the wolves, but to drive them away from human settlements and toward a section of the valley where deer were plentiful. They essentially created a safe corridor for both humans and wolves, preventing conflict while ensuring both species could survive the harsh winter. This display of problem-solving and apparent concern for both human and wolf welfare caught the attention of Dr. Rodriguez, a renowned expert in animal cognition. She established a research station near Sarah's property to study what she termed cross-species cooperative behavior. Her findings would eventually challenge long-held beliefs about animal intelligence and social structures. As winter deepened, the bears' protective behavior extended beyond just handling the wolf threat. They began clearing paths through deep snow, making it easier for local residents to check on each other during the worst of the storms. Luna seemed to have an uncanny ability to sense when human help was needed, often appearing near homes where elderly residents were struggling with the harsh conditions. The most extraordinary demonstration of their protective instincts came during a medical emergency at the Henderson farm, when Tom's wife, Linda, fell and broke her leg during a power outage. Their phone lines were down and the roads were impassable. Luna and Scout appeared at their door, making enough noise to draw Tom's attention, then led him to Sarah's cabin, the only place in the area with a working emergency radio. Through the remainder of that challenging winter, the bear's presence became a source of comfort rather than fear for the valley's residents. They maintained their wild nature, never seeking food from humans or becoming dependent, but showed an unprecedented level of awareness and consideration for their human neighbors. Their behavior sparked intense debate in the scientific community about animal consciousness and the potential for cooperative relationships between species. Spring's arrival brought new challenges as the melting snow caused widespread flooding in the valley. Once again, Luna's family demonstrated extraordinary awareness of the situation. They began marking safe paths around flood zones, their powerful bodies creating trails that humans could follow to avoid dangerous areas. Their knowledge of the terrain proved invaluable as they guided lost hikers to safety and helped locals navigate around treacherous washouts. The bears' continued presence had another unexpected effect on the valley. Tourism began to increase as word spread about the remarkable relationship between the wild bears and local residents. This presented new challenges in maintaining the delicate balance between human interest and wildlife protection. Sarah, along with Ranger Rodriguez, developed strict guidelines for bear watching that prioritized the animals' well-being while allowing people to learn from their extraordinary behavior. Luna's family became ambassadors for a new approach to wildlife conservation, one that recognized the potential for cooperation rather than conflict between humans and wild animals. Their story inspired changes in wildlife management policies across the region, promoting methods that focused on understanding and working with animal behavior rather than simply trying to control it. As the years passed, Luna's cubs established their own territories in the valley, each maintaining the remarkable awareness of and consideration for human activities that their mother had taught them. They passed these behaviors on to their own cubs, creating a unique population of bears that demonstrated unprecedented levels of cooperation with human neighbors while maintaining their essential wild nature. The scientific papers documenting this extraordinary situation filled volumes, but perhaps the most meaningful testament to Luna's legacy was the transformation of the valley itself. Properties that once featured prominent warning signs about bear dangers now displayed educational information about coexistence. Children in local schools learned about wildlife by observing the bear's behavior, developing an early understanding of respectful interaction with nature. Sarah's garden, where this remarkable story began, became a symbol of possibility, a place where the conventional boundaries between wild and human spaces blurred into something new and hopeful. Luna still visits, now a grandmother, many times. Over, her silver-flecked muzzle and wise eyes carrying the story of years spent building an unprecedented bridge between two worlds. The bear's influence extended far beyond the practical aspects of human-wildlife cooperation. Their presence reminded everyone in the valley of a fundamental truth, that the natural world isn't something separate from human existence, but an integral part of it. The lessons learned from Luna and her family sparked a movement toward more thoughtful development in the region, with new construction required to consider wildlife corridors and natural habitats. As this extraordinary story continues to unfold, it serves as a powerful reminder that the most profound changes often begin with simple acts of kindness and understanding. The bears of Bitterroot Valley have shown us that when we open our minds to new possibilities, nature often surprises us with its capacity for intelligence, compassion, and cooperation. A late summer morning in the Bitterroot Valley dawned with an unusual stillness that made Sarah Mitchell reach instinctively for her camera. 20 months had passed since Luna and her cubs first entered her garden, and she had learned to read the subtle moods of both the mountain weather and her ursine neighbors. Today, something felt different in the crisp Montana air. The morning light revealed fresh tracks leading to her renovated greenhouse, a structure that had become an unexpected focal point for studying bear intelligence. Luna's granddaughter, a curious young bear Sarah had named Willow, had developed an extraordinary interest in the building's irrigation system. Local biologists were baffled by the young bear's apparent understanding of when the water would flow and how to access it without damaging the equipment. But this morning's tracks told a different story. They showed signs of urgency, deeper impressions that suggested running rather than the usual meandering pace. Sarah followed them carefully, her experienced eye noting details that would soon prove crucial to understanding an emerging threat to both the human and wildlife communities of the valley. The tracks led to the far corner of her property where the tree line met an ancient rock formation. There, she found evidence of what had disturbed the bear's usual routine. Scattered among the rocks were fragments of bright orange plastic and the unmistakable metallic glint of surveillance equipment. Someone had been monitoring the bears, and not for scientific purposes. Dr. James Wilson, now a regular visitor to the valley, confirmed Sarah's worst fears. The equipment matched that used by an international wildlife trafficking ring known for targeting unique animal populations. The extraordinary behavioral patterns displayed by Luna's extended family had drawn unwanted attention. The traffickers weren't just interested in the bears as specimens, they wanted to study and replicate the unprecedented cooperation between bears and humans that had made the valley famous. The discovery set in motion a chain of events that would test the boundaries of interspecies cooperation in ways no one could have predicted. Luna, showing an uncanny awareness of the situation, began altering her family's behavior patterns. The bears started moving in smaller groups, varying their routines and using more remote paths through the valley. Sarah recognized these changes as deliberate adaptations, but what amazed her was how the bears seemed to be implementing sophisticated counter-surveillance techniques. Ranger Jenny Rodriguez organized regular patrols to search for more monitoring equipment, but it was the bears themselves who proved most effective at locating and alerting humans to suspicious devices. Scout, now fully grown and leading his own family group, developed a distinctive vocalization that local residents learned to recognize as a warning signal. His calls would guide search parties to newly placed cameras and tracking devices. The situation escalated when signs of human intruders began appearing deeper in bear territory. Fresh boot prints, disturbed vegetation, and the occasional glint of camouflaged equipment suggested that the traffickers were becoming bolder. The bears responded by implementing what Dr. Wilson would later describe as a multi-layered defense strategy that left even veteran wildlife researchers in awe. Luna coordinated with her offspring to establish a sophisticated patrol system. They divided the valley into sectors, with different family groups taking responsibility for specific areas. What made this remarkable was their apparent ability to communicate threats across these sectors. When one group detected suspicious activity, the information seemed to spread rapidly through the entire bear population, leading to coordinated responses that protected both bears and human residents. The bears' defensive behaviors revealed new depths of their intelligence and social organization. They began using natural features of the landscape, ridgelines, watercourses, and dense thickets to create secure corridors for movement. More remarkably, they appeared to be actively teaching these strategies to younger bears. Sarah's cameras captured numerous instances of adult bears demonstrating specific behaviors to cubs, showing them how to move silently, avoid detection, and alert others to potential dangers. One particularly tense evening, Sarah witnessed an extraordinary display of the bear's protective instincts. She had been photographing sunset over the valley when movement caught her eye. 3 unfamiliar men carrying specialized equipment were attempting to set up a blind near a favored bear path. Before she could react, Luna's family orchestrated a response that demonstrated remarkable strategic thinking. Rather than directly confronting the intruders, the bears executed a carefully coordinated maneuver. Scout and 2 other adult bears created diversions with loud movements in the underbrush, while Luna and several younger bears quietly evacuated cubs from the area. Most impressively, River, now an imposing adult, deliberately circled behind the men's position and began marking trees, a clear message about territory that caused the intruders to hastily abandon their equipment. The incident was captured on Sarah's professional cameras, providing valuable evidence for law enforcement, but more importantly, it demonstrated a level of tactical thinking that challenged conventional understanding of animal intelligence. The bears had not only recognized the threat, but had developed and executed a complex response that protected their young while avoiding direct confrontation. This event marked a turning point in the valley's approach to wildlife protection. Local authorities, working with federal agencies, began incorporating the bears' behavior patterns into their security strategies. The animal's natural alertness and territorial awareness became an integral part of the valley's defense against wildlife trafficking. As autumn approached, the bears' protective behavior extended beyond their own species. They began alerting human residents to other illegal activities in the forest, from unauthorized logging to poaching attempts. Their actions led to several arrests and the disruption of multiple criminal operations. The traffickers, frustrated by the bears' interference and the increased law enforcement presence, eventually abandoned their efforts in the valley. The experience had lasting effects on both the human and bear communities. The bears' demonstrated intelligence and protective instincts led to new research initiatives focused on animal cognition and social behavior. Sarah's documentation of their strategic responses to threats became the foundation for revolutionary studies in wildlife conservation and protection. Local schools developed programs that taught children about wildlife behavior using examples from Luna's family. Students learned to recognize different bear vocalizations and understand their significance, creating a new generation of informed wildlife observers. The valley became a model for human-wildlife cooperation, attracting researchers and conservation experts from around the world. Perhaps most remarkably, the bears maintained their wild nature throughout these events. They never became dependent on human presence or protection, instead developing a cooperative relationship that respected the boundaries between species while acknowledging their mutual benefits. Their behavior demonstrated an evolutionary adaptation to human proximity that suggested new possibilities for conservation in an increasingly developed world. Sarah's garden, where this extraordinary story began, evolved into an informal research station. She worked with wildlife experts to document the bears' complex social interactions, their problem-solving abilities, and their remarkable capacity for cooperative behavior. The data gathered there contributed to groundbreaking studies in animal intelligence and social organization. The bears' influence extended beyond the valley's boundaries as their story inspired changes in wildlife management practices across the country. Conservation programs began incorporating insights gained from studying Luna's family, recognizing that successful human-wildlife coexistence required understanding and working with animals' natural intelligence and social structures. As winter approached, bringing new challenges and changes to the valley, Sarah reflected on the extraordinary journey that had begun with a simple act of kindness in her garden. The bears had not only survived attempts to exploit their unique behaviors, they had demonstrated a capacity for adaptation and cooperation that offered hope for the future of human-wildlife relations. Luna, now the matriarch of a thriving bear community, continued to show remarkable awareness of human activities while maintaining her essential wild nature. Her legacy lived on through generations of bears that understood how to coexist with humans while preserving their independence and dignity. Their story became a testament to the untapped potential for understanding and cooperation between species, suggesting that the boundaries between wild and human spaces might be more fluid than anyone had imagined. The first signs of climate change's impact on the Bitterroot Valley emerged subtly at first, like whispers in the wind that only the most attuned observers could detect. Sarah Mitchell noticed the shifts through her camera lens, flowering plants blooming weeks earlier than usual, subtle changes in wildlife migration patterns, and most notably, alterations in the bears' behavior that suggested they sensed the approaching environmental challenges before any human instruments could measure them. Early spring brought unprecedented rainfall to the valley, transforming typically gentle streams into raging torrents that threatened both wildlife habitats and human settlements. The changing weather patterns had disrupted natural food sources, forcing various species to adapt their traditional behaviors. But it was Luna's family that demonstrated the most remarkable response to these environmental challenges. Dr. Thompson's wildlife monitoring stations began recording unusual movement patterns among the bear population. Instead of their typical foraging routes, the bears were systematically establishing new pathways throughout the valley, creating what would later be recognized as natural evacuation routes. Their behavior suggested not just an awareness of immediate dangers, but an apparent ability to anticipate and prepare for future challenges. The bears' adaptive strategies became evident one misty morning when Sarah discovered Luna and several younger bears carefully clearing fallen debris from natural drainage channels around the valley. Their actions, documented through Sarah's telephoto lens, showed a sophisticated understanding of water flow and flood prevention. Wildlife experts were particularly intrigued by how the bears seemed to be teaching these skills to the younger generation. Willow, Luna's granddaughter, emerged as a particularly quick learner. She developed an uncanny ability to locate underground water sources, leading her family to previously unknown springs that would prove crucial during the dry spells that followed the floods. Her behavior challenged conventional understanding of bear intelligence, suggesting levels of environmental awareness that scientists had never before documented. The bears' response to the changing climate went beyond mere survival adaptations. They began actively modifying their environment in ways that benefited the entire ecosystem. Senior bears would create small dams using fallen logs and debris, effectively managing water flow during heavy rains. These structures, while primitive compared to human engineering, demonstrated remarkable effectiveness in preventing erosion and protecting both wildlife corridors and human properties. The valley's human residents watched in amazement as the bears implemented what appeared to be coordinated conservation efforts. Scout's family group began relocating berry bushes from flood-prone areas to higher ground, effectively creating new food sources in more stable locations. This behavior, never before observed in wild bears, suggested an understanding of long-term environmental planning that revolutionized scientific understanding of animal intelligence. Sarah's documentation of these activities caught the attention of international climate researchers. Dr. Elena Martinez, a leading expert in wildlife adaptation to climate change, established a permanent research station in the valley. Her team's findings would eventually challenge fundamental assumptions about animals' capacity to respond to environmental challenges. The bears' most extraordinary demonstration of environmental awareness came during an unprecedented drought that struck the valley in late summer. As water sources began to dry up, Luna's family implemented what appeared to be a water management system. They created a network of shallow trenches that helped direct limited water resources to areas where both wildlife and livestock could access it safely. This sophisticated response to water scarcity led to an unexpected collaboration between bears and humans. Local ranchers, initially skeptical of working around large predators, found themselves following the bears' lead in water conservation efforts. The animals' natural engineering actually helped preserve crucial water sources during the driest periods, benefiting the entire valley ecosystem. The bears' influence extended to fire prevention as well. They began clearing dead vegetation from areas prone to lightning strikes, effectively creating natural fire breaks throughout the forest. Their behavior suggested an understanding of fire, risk that went beyond instinct, demonstrating an ability to anticipate and mitigate environmental threats. Tom Henderson's ranch became an unexpected focal point for studying these new behaviors. His property, situated at a crucial junction of wildlife corridors, became a natural laboratory for observing how the bear's adaptive strategies influenced other species. Researchers documented how deer, elk, and smaller mammals began following the bear's established safe routes and gathering at their maintained water sources. The most remarkable aspect of these developments was how the bears maintained their wild nature while demonstrating increasingly sophisticated problem-solving abilities. They never sought human intervention or assistance, instead developing independent solutions that happened to benefit both species. Their actions suggested a form of parallel evolution. Wild animals adapting to environmental challenges in ways that coincidentally aided human communities. Sarah's garden, once a simple vegetable plot, evolved into a model for climate-resilient agriculture. The bear's influence led to new understanding of natural water management and soil conservation. Local farmers began studying how the bear's activities affected plant growth and water retention, leading to innovative, sustainable farming practices. Luna's family continued to surprise researchers with their adaptive capabilities. They began creating food caches in locations that showed remarkable strategic planning. Areas protected from both flood and fire risk, yet accessible to various species during times of scarcity. This behavior demonstrated not just survival instinct, but a form of environmental stewardship that transcended species boundaries. The bear's response to climate change had far-reaching implications for wildlife conservation worldwide. Their demonstrated ability to adapt and problem-solve challenged traditional approaches to wildlife management. Conservation programs began, incorporating insights gained from studying these remarkable animals, leading to more effective strategies for helping wildlife adapt to changing environmental conditions. As autumn approached, bringing new challenges and uncertainties, the valley had been transformed by the bear's influence. Their presence had helped create a more resilient ecosystem, better prepared to face the challenges of a changing climate. Local residents found themselves part of an unprecedented experiment in human-wildlife cooperation, working alongside their ursine neighbors to preserve their shared environment. The scientific community continued to study these extraordinary developments, but perhaps the most profound impact was on public understanding of wildlife intelligence and adaptation. The bears of Bitterroot Valley had demonstrated that wild animals were capable of far more sophisticated responses to environmental challenges than previously imagined. Their story offered hope that, given the chance, nature could find innovative ways to adapt to our changing world. Sarah's documentation of these events became more than just a scientific record. It was a testament to the untapped potential for cooperation between species in the face of environmental challenges. The bears had shown that survival strategies could transcend species boundaries, creating new possibilities for conservation in an era of climate change. As winter approached, bringing its own set of challenges, the valley stood as a living laboratory of climate adaptation and interspecies cooperation. Luna's legacy now extended beyond her immediate family, influencing an entire ecosystem's response to environmental change. Her story had become a beacon of hope, suggesting that even in the face of unprecedented challenges, nature's capacity for adaptation and cooperation might help light the way forward. The transformation of the Bitterroot Valley accelerated with the arrival of a mysterious newcomer, a phenomenon that would redefine the boundaries of animal intelligence and social complexity. It began on a misty dawn, when Sarah Mitchell's wildlife cameras captured an unfamiliar bear entering the valley, a massive male with distinctive silver-tipped fur and a remarkable scar pattern that suggested survival against incredible odds. Initially, the appearance of this stranger, whom locals would come to call Thunder due to his deep resonating vocalizations, caused concern among both human residents and the established bear community. Male bears were typically solitary and territorial, often posing a threat to cubs and disrupting existing social structures. But Thunder defied all conventional expectations. Dr. James Wilson's research team observed something unprecedented in Thunder's behavior. Rather than challenging the existing bear hierarchy, he appeared to study it, showing particular interest in the sophisticated social interactions that had developed between Luna's extended family and the human inhabitants. His approach demonstrated a level of social intelligence that suggested he might have experienced similar human-wildlife cooperation elsewhere. Sarah's cameras documented Thunder's careful integration into the valley's unique ecosystem. He would spend hours observing from a distance, learning the established patterns and protocols that had evolved between species. Most remarkably, he seemed to understand and respect the delicate balance that had been achieved, adding his own innovations to the existing system rather than disrupting it. The first indication of Thunder's extraordinary capabilities came during a series of powerful thunderstorms that threatened the valley's delicate water management system. While other bears worked to maintain their established flood controls, Thunder began implementing new techniques that showed evidence of experience with different terrain types. He created complex drainage systems using natural materials, incorporating methods that suggested knowledge gained from other environments. Dr. Elena Martinez, expanding her climate research, discovered that Thunder's techniques closely resembled those observed in bear populations thousands of miles away in regions that had already experienced severe climate impacts. This raised intriguing questions about the possibility of knowledge transfer between geographically separated bear populations, challenging existing theories about animal learning and adaptation. Thunder's influence on the valley's younger bears proved particularly fascinating. He seemed to possess teaching abilities that complemented Luna's established methods. While Luna's family had developed sophisticated social behaviors, Thunder introduced new survival skills that appeared specifically adapted to changing environmental conditions. Young bears would gather to watch him demonstrate techniques for accessing difficult food sources or creating shelter in extreme weather. The interaction between Thunder and Willow, Luna's innovative granddaughter, captured the attention of researchers worldwide. Together, they began developing hybrid solutions that combined Thunder's external knowledge with the valley's established practices. Their collaboration resulted in new approaches to resource management that benefited the entire ecosystem, demonstrating unprecedented levels of problem-solving and cooperation. Perhaps most remarkably, Thunder showed an ability to communicate across species boundaries that went beyond even the sophisticated interactions already established in the valley. He developed distinct vocalizations for different types of situations, effectively creating a rudimentary warning system that both bears and humans could understand. Local residents learned to recognize his specific calls for various conditions, weather threats, predator presence, or safe passage notifications. Sarah's documentation of Thunder's integration into the valley community provided groundbreaking insights into bear intelligence and social adaptation. Her photographs and videos captured moments of complex interaction that challenged fundamental assumptions about wildlife behavior. Thunder wasn't just adapting to an established system, he was actively contributing to its evolution. The scientific implications of Thunder's arrival extended far beyond the valley. His presence suggested that bears might be capable of transmitting learned behaviors across vast distances, potentially creating networks of knowledge that could help species adapt to changing environmental conditions. This possibility sparked new research initiatives focused on understanding how wildlife might be naturally responding to global challenges. As autumn painted the valley in rich colors, thunder's influence became increasingly evident in the bear's preparation for winter. He introduced new food preservation techniques, showing younger bears how to create more efficient food caches that could better withstand extreme weather events. His methods integrated seamlessly with the valley's established practices, enhancing the community's resilience. The most extraordinary demonstration of thunder's capabilities came during an unexpected early snowstorm that threatened both wildlife and human residents. He coordinated with Luna's family to implement emergency protocols that hadn't been seen before in the valley. The bears worked together to clear crucial access routes, mark safe passages through deep snow, and establish emergency food and water access points that benefited all species. Dr. Thompson's ongoing research revealed that thunder's behavior patterns suggested he had previous experience with human settlements, possibly in regions where climate change had already forced bears and humans into closer cooperation. His actions indicated not just learned adaptation, but active problem-solving, based on past experiences, raising intriguing questions about the potential for wildlife to develop and share survival strategies across different environments. Thunder's presence also influenced the valley's human inhabitants in unexpected ways. His demonstration of sophisticated problem-solving encouraged local residents to reconsider their approach to wildlife management. The community began implementing new conservation strategies that provided more space for natural adaptation and innovation among wildlife populations. Sarah's garden, already a focal point for studying bear behavior, became a testing ground for Thunder's innovative techniques. He introduced new methods for protecting plant life from extreme weather, working alongside Luna's family to create natural windbreaks and water conservation systems that would prove crucial in the changing climate. His contributions added new dimensions to the valley's evolving model of human-wildlife cooperation. The integration of Thunder's external knowledge with the valley's established practices led to the emergence of new behavioral patterns that suggested bears might be capable of creating cumulative cultural knowledge, building upon and improving existing practices rather than simply maintaining them. This possibility revolutionized scientific understanding of animal intelligence and social learning. As winter approached, the valley had been transformed once again, not through disruption, but through the careful integration of new knowledge and techniques. Thunder's presence had catalyzed the evolution of bear-human cooperation, demonstrating that wildlife adaptation could be both sophisticated and purposeful. His story added new chapters to the valley's ongoing testament to the possibilities of interspecies cooperation and environmental adaptation. The implications of these developments reached far beyond the immediate community. Thunder's arrival suggested that wildlife might be developing networks of shared knowledge and experience, adapting to environmental challenges in ways that transcended traditional territorial boundaries. His story offered hope that animals might be more capable of responding to global challenges than previously imagined. Through Sarah's lens, the continuing story of the Bitterroot Valley bears revealed new dimensions of possibility in the relationship between humans and wildlife. Thunder's integration into the community demonstrated that adaptation and cooperation could take unexpected forms, offering fresh perspectives on how different species might work together to face the challenges of a changing world. A fierce windstorm swept through the Bitterroot Valley, bringing with it an unexpected discovery that would further challenge our understanding of bear intelligence and social complexity. Sarah Mitchell woke to find her wildlife cameras had captured extraordinary nighttime footage. The bears were using sophisticated sign language to communicate across distances, a behavior never before documented in their species. Under the cover of darkness, Luna's extended family exhibited a complex system of paw movements and body positioning that appeared deliberate and structured. Dr. Elena Martinez, reviewing the footage, identified distinct patterns that corresponded to specific situations and locations within the valley. This revelation suggested a level of symbolic communication far beyond what scientists had previously attributed to bears. The discovery coincided with another remarkable development. Young bears from neighboring valleys began appearing at the periphery of Luna's territory, displaying unusual behaviors that suggested they were actively seeking to learn from the established bear community. Unlike typical territorial encounters, these newcomers showed submission and what appeared to be deliberate attempts to integrate into the valley's unique social structure. Sarah's documentation of these interactions revealed a fascinating pattern. The visiting bears would first observe from a distance, then gradually approach, using specific body language that the valley's bears seemed to recognize as non-threatening. Most remarkably, Luna and Thunder appeared to have developed a systematic approach to evaluating and potentially accepting these newcomers. The integration process demonstrated remarkable sophistication. Established bears would guide newcomers through a series of what appeared to be tests, challenges that assessed their ability to adapt to the valley's cooperative environment. These trials included demonstrations of self-control around human settlements, participation in collaborative food gathering, and showing understanding of the valley's complex social protocols. Dr. James Wilson's research team documented how successful candidates were gradually introduced to increasingly complex aspects of valley life. The bears learned to interpret human activities, respect established boundaries, and participate in the community's environmental management systems. This structured learning process suggested a level of social organization previously unknown in bear populations. The most extraordinary aspect of this development was how the valley's bears had created what amounted to a natural education system. Younger bears, both native and visiting, were systematically exposed to crucial survival skills, social protocols, and environmental management techniques. This organized transfer of knowledge challenged fundamental assumptions about wildlife behavior and intelligence. Willow emerged as a key figure in this educational process. Her innovative approaches to problem-solving made her an ideal intermediary between established bears and newcomers. She demonstrated remarkable patience in teaching complex behaviors, often breaking down sophisticated tasks into manageable steps that visiting bears could gradually master. The emergence of this learning system coincided with increasing environmental pressures that made the valley's cooperative model increasingly vital. As climate change disrupted traditional wildlife patterns across the region, the knowledge developed by Luna's community became an essential survival resource. The valley was evolving into what researchers termed a wildlife learning center, a natural space where adaptive behaviors could be developed and shared. Sarah's cameras captured numerous instances of knowledge transfer that defied conventional understanding of bear behavior. Experienced bears would deliberately demonstrate techniques for water conservation, food storage, and territory management to attentive learners. These teaching sessions showed evidence of planning and progressive skill development that suggested conscious educational intent. The impact of this natural education system extended beyond basic survival skills. Visiting bears learned the valley's sophisticated approach to human interaction, including the complex signaling systems used to communicate potential dangers or opportunities. This knowledge transfer was creating a growing network of bears capable of sophisticated cooperation with human communities. Dr. Thompson's ongoing research revealed that bears who had spent time in the valley were spreading these behaviors to Other regions, bears who had learned from Luna's community were observed implementing similar cooperative strategies in their home territories, suggesting the potential for widespread adoption of these sophisticated social behaviors. The educational system's most remarkable feature was its adaptability. As new challenges emerged, the bears would modify their teaching methods and content to address current needs. This dynamic response to changing conditions demonstrated a level of collective intelligence that revolutionized scientific understanding of wildlife adaptation. The valley's human residents played an unexpected role in this development. Their consistent, predictable behavior provided a stable environment for bears to learn complex social interactions. Local farmers and ranchers, understanding the importance of their role, began working with researchers to create opportunities for bears to safely observe and learn about human activities. Sarah's garden continued to serve as a crucial learning space, where new arrivals could observe the delicate balance between wild and human spaces. The garden's design evolved to incorporate features that facilitated safe observation and gradual interaction, becoming a model for wildlife-friendly agriculture that began to influence farming practices across the region. The success of this natural education system had profound implications for wildlife conservation. It demonstrated that given the right conditions, wild animals could develop and transmit sophisticated behaviors that promoted coexistence with human communities. This finding challenged traditional approaches to wildlife management and suggested new possibilities for conservation in developed areas. As autumn began to paint the valley in rich colors, the educational system faced its first major test. An unprecedented drought brought increased pressure on food and water resources, forcing bears to adapt their behaviors rapidly. The community's response demonstrated the effectiveness of their learning system, as bears at all levels worked together to implement water conservation strategies and develop new food sources. The valley's bear population had grown not through normal reproduction alone, but through the successful integration of learning bears from other regions. This growth, rather than creating pressure on resources, actually strengthened the community's resilience. Each new member brought unique experiences and perspectives that contributed to the collective knowledge pool. The implications of these developments extended far beyond the valley's boundaries. The success of this natural learning system suggested new possibilities for wildlife adaptation to environmental change. It demonstrated that animals could develop and transmit complex behaviors that helped them thrive in changing conditions, offering hope for species facing similar challenges worldwide. Sarah's documentation of these developments contributed to a growing body of research that was revolutionizing our understanding of animal intelligence and social learning. The bears of Bitterroot Valley had demonstrated that wildlife was capable of creating sophisticated educational systems that could help entire populations adapt to new challenges. As winter approached, the valley stood as a testament to the untapped potential of wildlife intelligence and social organization. The bears had created a learning community that transcended traditional boundaries between species and territories, offering new insights into the possibilities for cooperation between humans and wildlife in a changing world. The tranquility of the Bitterroot Valley was shattered by the distant rumble of heavy machinery. A massive infrastructure project aimed at connecting remote mountain communities threatened to cut through critical wildlife corridors. Sarah Mitchell stood at her cabin's window, watching through her telephoto lens as surveying teams marked trees with bright orange paint, each splash of color representing a potential wound in the delicate ecosystem her ursine neighbors had helped cultivate. The bears' response to this new challenge would reveal depths of strategic thinking that even their most dedicated observers hadn't anticipated. Luna, now a revered matriarch of the valley's bear community, began orchestrating what appeared to be a deliberate campaign to demonstrate the importance of maintaining unbroken wildlife passages. Her methods would prove both sophisticated and surprisingly gentle, showing remarkable restraint in the face of serious threat. Dr. Elena Martinez's research team documented an unprecedented series of coordinated activities. The bears began conducting what could only be described as deliberate demonstrations of their essential role in the valley's ecosystem. They would time their movements to coincide with the surveyor's presence, showing how they maintained crucial environmental services, from seed dispersal to natural irrigation system maintenance, that benefited both wildlife and human communities. Willow, drawing on her innovative spirit, initiated a series of behaviors that seemed specifically designed to catch human attention. She would lead groups of bears in maintaining the natural flood control systems they had developed deliberately, working within sight of the construction teams. These displays highlighted how the bears' activities helped protect human infrastructure from natural disasters, a fact that wouldn't be lost on project planners. The construction company's environmental impact assessment team found themselves documenting phenomena they had never encountered before. The bears were demonstrating levels of environmental engineering that challenged conventional wisdom about wildlife behavior. Their activities showed clear evidence of planning and coordination that suggested conscious intent to preserve their territory through demonstration rather than confrontation. Thunder brought his own contribution to this peaceful resistance. Drawing on his experience from other regions, he began implementing new techniques for marking territory that emphasized the bear's role in maintaining ecological balance. His methods involved creating visible signs of bear activity that highlighted their positive impact on the environment rather than just their presence. The valley's human residents, witnessing these extraordinary demonstrations, began to understand the full scope of their ursine neighbors' importance. Local farmers noted how the bears' activities had improved soil quality and water retention in their fields. Ranchers reported healthier grazing lands where bears maintained natural irrigation systems. These benefits became powerful arguments in community discussions about the proposed construction. Sarah's cameras captured compelling evidence of the bears' environmental stewardship. Her photographs showed how their activities created natural barriers against erosion, maintained healthy forest undergrowth, and supported diverse wildlife populations. These images, shared with project planners and environmental authorities, provided crucial documentation of the bears' ecological importance. Dr. James Wilson's research team observed something even more remarkable. The bears appeared to be actively recruiting other wildlife species into their demonstration efforts. Deer and elk, which typically avoided human activity, began following bear-maintained trails in clear view of surveying teams. Even smaller animals seemed to participate, using the bear's presence as cover to show the rich biodiversity that could be lost. The most extraordinary aspect of this response was its measured nature. Despite their impressive size and strength, the bears never showed aggression toward the construction teams. Instead, they demonstrated remarkable restraint, focusing entirely on showing their positive role in the ecosystem. This sophisticated approach suggested levels of strategic thinking far beyond what scientists had previously attributed to wildlife. The bears' campaign of peaceful demonstration had an unexpected ally in the form of changing weather patterns. As unusual storm systems brought heavy rains to the valley, the bears' flood control systems proved crucial in protecting both wildlife corridors and human infrastructure. Their natural engineering, developed through generations of adaptation, demonstrated its value in ways that cold statistics could never convey. Project engineers, faced with mounting evidence of the bears' ecological importance, began modifying their plans. They consulted with wildlife experts to understand how the bears' activities contributed to environmental stability. This led to innovative proposals for elevated wildlife passages and modified construction techniques that would preserve crucial animal corridors. The bears' response to these modifications showed remarkable adaptability. As construction teams tested different approaches, the bears adjusted their activities to demonstrate how each option might affect their environmental management systems. This dynamic feedback process created an unprecedented collaboration between wildlife and human infrastructure development. Sarah's documentation of these interactions contributed to a growing body of research on wildlife intelligence and environmental adaptation. The bears had shown that animals could respond to human development with sophistication and restraint, offering alternatives through demonstration rather than conflict. Their approach suggested new possibilities for balancing human progress with wildlife conservation. The valley's bear population continued their environmental stewardship throughout the construction process, maintaining their crucial role in ecosystem management while adapting to changes in their territory. Their ability to modify their behaviors while preserving essential activities demonstrated remarkable flexibility and intelligence. As autumn approached, the infrastructure project had evolved into something unique, a model for how human development could adapt to preserve crucial wildlife activities. The bears' peaceful demonstration of their ecological role had created a new paradigm for conservation, showing how wildlife could actively participate in decisions affecting their habitat. The implications of these developments reached far beyond the valley's boundaries. The bears' sophisticated response to human development suggested new possibilities for wildlife conservation in an increasingly developed world. Their demonstration of peaceful coexistence offered hope for other communities facing similar challenges. The success of this unusual collaboration led to new approaches in infrastructure planning across the region. Project designers began incorporating wildlife behavior studies into their initial plans, recognizing that animal populations could be active participants in environmental management rather than just obstacles to be worked around. Sarah's garden, which had witnessed the beginning of this extraordinary story, continued to serve as a symbol of successful coexistence between human development and wildlife. The bears maintained their activities there, demonstrating daily how their presence enriched rather than threatened human spaces. Their careful attention to maintaining this balance spoke of deep intelligence and adaptability. As winter approached, bringing new challenges and changes to the valley, the bears' response to the infrastructure project had created lasting changes in how humans approach development in wildlife areas. Their peaceful demonstration of ecological importance had shown that progress didn't have to come at the expense of natural systems, but could instead work in harmony with them. The first signs appeared in Sarah Mitchell's dawn photographs, unfamiliar tracks in the freshly fallen snow, larger than any she had documented in the Bitterroot Valley. The massive prints spoke of a creature that dwarfed even thunder's impressive size, and their pattern suggested purposeful movement rather than random wandering. A new arrival was about to challenge everything the valley's unique bear community had established. Dawn revealed the source of these mysterious tracks, an enormous grizzly bear, his fur touched with silver that caught the morning light. Local wildlife authorities estimated his weight at over 1,000 pounds, making him one of the largest grizzlies ever documented in the region. His arrival sparked immediate concern among residents who feared this apex predator might disrupt the delicate balance that had developed between black bears and humans. Dr. Elena Martinez's research team scrambled to establish new observation protocols. A grizzly bear's presence in the valley wasn't just unusual, it represented a potential shift in the entire ecosystem's dynamics. Their primary concern was how Luna's community would respond to this powerful intruder. whose natural dominance could threaten years of carefully developed social structures. The grizzly's behavior, however, defied expectations from the start. Rather than asserting dominance through aggression, he displayed what Dr. James Wilson would later describe as observational intelligence. The massive bear, whom researchers named Atlas, spent his first weeks carefully studying the valley's established social patterns from a respectful distance. Sarah's cameras captured extraordinary footage of Atlas's initial interactions with the local bear population. Instead of challenging thunder or other male bears for territory, he appeared to be learning their communication systems. He would watch their signaling behaviors, gradually incorporating their methods into his own movements, showing an unexpected capacity for social adaptation. The valley's resident bears demonstrated equally surprising responses to Atlas's presence. Luna, drawing on her years of experience in diplomatic ursine relations, initiated a series of careful interactions that suggested she recognized something unusual in this powerful newcomer. Her approach combined caution with curiosity, setting the tone for how her extended family would relate to the grizzly. Willow's reaction to Atlas proved particularly fascinating to researchers. She began what appeared to be intentional demonstrations of the valley's cooperative systems, showing the grizzly how black bears work together to maintain environmental balance. Atlas showed remarkable interest in these demonstrations, often spending hours observing the younger bears' collaborative activities. The most extraordinary development came when Atlas began attempting to integrate himself into the valley's bear-human cooperation network. Despite his enormous size and natural dominance, he displayed unprecedented restraint and intelligence in his approaches to human areas. He would deliberately make his presence known from safe distances, using the communication signals he had learned from watching Luna's family. Dr. Thompson's wildlife monitoring stations recorded Atlas adopting and even improving upon the black bear's environmental management techniques. His greater size and strength allowed him to move larger obstacles in water management systems, while his careful attention to detail in these tasks showed remarkable adaptation to the valley's established practices. The grizzly's presence began to yield unexpected benefits for the entire ecosystem. His natural digging behaviors, when combined with the black bear's sophisticated environmental management, created more effective water retention systems throughout the valley. These improvements helped buffer the effects of increasingly erratic weather patterns, benefiting both wildlife and human residents. Atlas's most significant contribution came in the form of enhanced territory protection. His presence, once feared as a disruption, actually strengthened the valley's wildlife sanctuary. Status: the grizzly's careful patrolling, coordinated with the black bear's established routes, created a more comprehensive protection system that discouraged both predators and human intruders who might threaten the valley's delicate balance. The scientific implications of Atlas's successful integration into the valley community challenged fundamental assumptions about bear behavior and species cooperation. The sight of a massive grizzly working alongside black bears in sophisticated environmental management tasks forced researchers to reconsider what they thought they knew about ursine social structures and intelligence. Sarah's documentation of these unprecedented interactions drew international attention to the valley. Her photographs captured moments of remarkable cooperation between the grizzly and black bears, scenes that defied conventional wildlife behavior patterns. These images would later become crucial evidence in studies of ursine social adaptation and intelligence. The valley's human residents watched in amazement as Atlas gradually became an integral part of their unique ecosystem. His presence, rather than disrupting the established order, enhanced it in unexpected ways. The grizzly's behavior demonstrated levels of social awareness and cooperative capability that transformed scientific understanding of bear intelligence. As autumn approached, bringing new challenges to the valley, Atlas's role in the community continued to evolve. He began sharing his own survival techniques with the black bears, demonstrating methods for accessing food sources and creating shelters that showed clear evidence of experience in diverse environments. This knowledge exchange further enriched the valley's collective wildlife intelligence. The success of Atlas's integration had profound implications for wildlife conservation efforts worldwide. It demonstrated that even traditionally dominant and solitary species could adapt to cooperative social systems when given the opportunity. This finding suggested new possibilities for managing human-wildlife interactions in other regions facing similar challenges. The valley's bear population had achieved something remarkable, a multi-species cooperative community that transcended natural competition patterns. Their success in integrating a massive grizzly into their sophisticated social structure demonstrated levels of adaptability and intelligence that would influence wildlife management practices for years to come. Sarah's garden, which had witnessed so many extraordinary developments in bear behavior, now served as a neutral ground where Atlas could safely observe and learn from the established community. His careful attention to the black bear's protocols in this space showed remarkable awareness of social boundaries and respect for established systems. As winter approached, bringing its own set of challenges to the valley, the presence of Atlas had added new dimensions to the bear's cooperative behaviors. The grizzly's successful integration into their community had demonstrated that intelligence and social adaptation could overcome even the most fundamental natural barriers between species. The first hint of change came not from the bears themselves, but from the skies above the Bitterroot Valley. Sarah Mitchell's morning photography session was interrupted by the distinctive thrum of helicopter rotors. Not the usual Forest Service patrols, but sleek private aircraft carrying teams of international researchers. Word had spread about the valley's extraordinary bear population, and the scientific community had finally taken notice. Dr. Elena Martinez found herself hosting colleagues from wildlife research institutes across the globe, experts in animal behavior, cognitive science, and environmental adaptation had descended upon the valley, drawn by reports of unprecedented ursine intelligence and social organization. Their arrival would test not only the bears' remarkable abilities, but also their adaptability to increased human attention. Luna's response to this sudden influx of observers demonstrated levels of diplomatic sophistication that amazed even those who knew her best. The matriarch began orchestrating what appeared to be deliberate demonstrations of her community's capabilities, carefully timing complex social interactions and environmental management activities to coincide with research. Observation periods. Her behavior suggested not just intelligence, but an understanding of human scientific interest. The international research teams brought with them advanced monitoring technology, thermal imaging cameras, satellite tracking systems, and sophisticated behavioral analysis tools. Yet it was the bears themselves who would reveal the limitations of these modern devices. Time and again, the animals demonstrated abilities that exceeded the capacity of human instruments to measure or explain. Willow, ever the innovator, became a particular focus of scientific attention. Her problem-solving abilities consistently challenged conventional parameters of animal intelligence testing. Researchers watched in amazement as she not only solved complex environmental challenges, but appeared to be creating her own experiments, testing different approaches to water management and resource distribution with methodical precision. Thunder's integration of new bears into the community provided unprecedented insights into ursine social learning. Senior researchers documented how he combined physical demonstration, vocal communication, and social reinforcement to teach complex behaviors to newcomers. His methods suggested a sophisticated understanding of learning processes that rivaled human educational theories. The valley's unique bear population began influencing scientific understanding in unexpected ways. Their demonstrated abilities forced researchers to develop new frameworks for studying animal intelligence. Traditional models of wildlife behavior proved inadequate to explain the levels of social organization, problem-solving, and environmental manipulation observed in the valley. Sarah's photography took on new significance as international journals sought visual evidence of the bear's extraordinary capabilities. Her images captured moments of complex social interaction, tool use, and environmental engineering that challenged fundamental assumptions about animal cognition. Each photograph added to a growing body of evidence, suggesting that human understanding of wildlife intelligence needed radical revision. Dr. James Wilson's team documented remarkable instances of bears adapting their behavior to facilitate scientific observation while maintaining their essential wild nature. They would demonstrate complex social protocols or environmental management techniques in ways that allowed clear documentation, yet never appeared artificial or performed. This behavior suggested levels of social awareness that transcended simple, learned responses. The most extraordinary developments emerged in the bear's apparent understanding of scientific documentation itself. They began timing their more complex activities for optimal observation conditions, demonstrating sophisticated behaviors during daylight hours and in locations that offered the best visibility for researchers. This awareness of human observation needs suggested unprecedented levels of social intelligence. Local residents watched with mixed emotions as their valley became an international research destination. The bear's response to increased human presence demonstrated remarkable ability to maintain their natural behaviors while accommodating scientific interest. They established clear boundaries between observation areas and private spaces, effectively creating their own research protocols. Dr. Thompson's ongoing studies revealed that the bears were actively expanding their repertoire of skills and behaviors, even as they were being studied. Rather than simply displaying existing capabilities, they appeared to be developing new techniques and social structures in response to increased observation. This continuous adaptation challenged traditional models of animal learning and development. The scientific implications of these developments extended far beyond wildlife biology. Cognitive researchers found themselves questioning fundamental assumptions about intelligence and consciousness. The bear's demonstrated abilities suggested possibilities for animal cognition that would influence fields from psychology to artificial intelligence. As autumn painted the valley in vibrant colors, the international research presence had catalyzed new understanding of wildlife capabilities. The bear's response to scientific observation had demonstrated levels of awareness and adaptation that transformed theoretical frameworks for studying animal intelligence. Their achievements suggested new possibilities for understanding consciousness itself. Luna's leadership during this period of intense scrutiny showed remarkable sophistication. She maintained her community's natural behaviors while facilitating scientific observation, effectively creating a living laboratory that never compromised the bear's wild nature. Her ability to balance these competing demands demonstrated extraordinary social intelligence. The valley's bear population had become a window into previously unrecognized realms of animal capability. Their demonstrated abilities in social organization, problem-solving, and environmental manipulation suggested that wildlife intelligence might be far more sophisticated than humans had imagined. These insights would influence scientific understanding for generations to come. Sarah's garden, which had witnessed the beginning of this remarkable story, became a symbol of the delicate balance between scientific observation and wildlife preservation. The bears maintained it as both a functional space and a demonstration area, showing how wild creatures could adapt to human interest while preserving their essential nature. As winter approached, bringing new challenges to test the bears' capabilities, their response to scientific observation had created lasting changes in human understanding of animal intelligence. Their sophisticated adaptation to increased human presence demonstrated abilities that would influence wildlife research and conservation practices worldwide. The implications of these developments reached far beyond immediate scientific interest. The bears had shown that animals could engage with human observation in ways that preserved their wild nature while advancing scientific understanding. Their example offered new perspectives on the relationship between wildlife research and conservation. International research teams continued to arrive, drawn by reports of new developments in bear behavior and social organization. Yet it was the bears themselves who controlled the pace and nature of scientific observation, demonstrating an unprecedented ability to facilitate human understanding while maintaining their independence and dignity. The autumnal equinox brought an eerie stillness to the Bitterroot Valley, broken only by the occasional rustle of golden leaves and the soft padding of bear paws through morning frost. Sarah Mitchell noticed it first through her camera lens. Subtle changes in the bears' behavior that suggested they were preparing for something beyond their usual winter preparations. Luna, the matriarch of the valley's unique bear community, had begun organizing what appeared to be systematic evacuation drills. The first signs emerged in the pre-dawn hours when Sarah's thermal imaging cameras captured an intricate dance of movement throughout the valley. Bears of all ages were practicing coordinated relocations, moving in patterns that showed clear purpose and planning. Dr. Elena Martinez's research team was particularly intrigued by how the bears were teaching these evacuation routes to other wildlife species, using a sophisticated system of signals and demonstrations. Environmental sensors scattered throughout the valley had begun detecting minute changes in groundwater composition and soil chemistry. These subtle shifts might have gone unnoticed by humans, but the bears' behavior suggested they were acutely aware of impending changes in their environment. Their response demonstrated levels of environmental awareness and predictive capability that challenged conventional understanding of animal intelligence. Thunder and Atlas had taken to patrolling new routes that focused on geological features, cliff faces, cave systems, and natural springs. Their attention to these areas puzzled researchers until geologists confirmed what the bears seemed to already know. The valley's underlying rock structure was showing signs of instability. The bears were preparing for potential geological events that human instruments were only beginning to detect. Willow's innovative spirit proved crucial in developing new safety protocols. She began establishing what researchers termed wildlife safe zones, carefully selected areas that offered natural protection from various types of environmental threats. Her choices showed remarkable understanding of geological stability and natural shelter requirements, demonstrating sophisticated risk assessment abilities. The valley's human residents watched in amazement as their ursine neighbors implemented what amounted to a comprehensive natural disaster preparedness plan. The bears were creating food caches in strategic locations, establishing alternative water sources and marking safe evacuation routes that took advantage of the terrain's natural features. Their preparations showed clear evidence of planning and forethought. Dr. James Wilson's team documented extraordinary scenes of bears teaching survival strategies to younger generations. Adult bears would demonstrate specific techniques for accessing emergency food sources, finding safe shelter, and navigating dangerous terrain. These teaching sessions showed remarkable patience and attention to detail, suggesting levels of cognitive sophistication previously unknown in bears. The most fascinating aspect of these preparations was how the bears incorporated other species into their planning. They seemed to understand that their role as valley protectors extended beyond their own kind. Through careful demonstration and patient guidance, they began showing other wildlife how to respond to various types of environmental threats. Sarah's cameras captured remarkable footage of bears, creating natural warning systems throughout the valley. They established specific vocalizations and movements that served as alerts for different types of dangers. These signals were being adopted by other species, creating what amounted to a universal emergency communication system among the valley's wildlife. The bears' preparation efforts extended to helping human residents understand the potential dangers they sensed. Through carefully choreographed demonstrations, they began drawing attention to vulnerable areas and suggesting safer alternatives. Their methods showed remarkable awareness of human perception and understanding. Dr. Thompson's research revealed that the bears were actively modifying their environment to create natural safety features. They cleared specific pathways, reinforced riverbanks, and created barriers around dangerous areas. Their engineering efforts showed sophisticated understanding of environmental hazards and protective measures. The scientific implications of these developments were profound. The bears had demonstrated not only the ability to predict environmental threats, but also the capacity to develop and implement complex response strategies. Their achievements suggested levels of intelligence and social organization that would revolutionize understanding of animal cognition. The valley's unique bear population had effectively created a comprehensive environmental monitoring and response system. Their methods combined natural instinct with learned behaviors in ways that suggested remarkable adaptive intelligence. Researchers noted how younger bears were not just copying their elders, but actively contributing new innovations to their protective strategies. As autumn deepened, the bears' preparations became more focused. They began concentrating their efforts on specific areas of the valley, their behavior suggesting they could sense where future challenges might emerge. Their ability to anticipate and prepare for localized threats demonstrated remarkable environmental awareness and predictive capability. Sarah's documentation of these activities provided crucial insights into animal intelligence and social organization. Her photographs captured moments of extraordinary cooperation and planning among the bears, showing how they combined individual skills and knowledge to create effective group responses to potential threats. The implications of these developments extended far beyond immediate safety concerns. The bears had shown that animals could develop sophisticated disaster response systems, adapting their natural abilities to address complex environmental challenges. Their example offered new perspectives on wildlife adaptation and intelligence. Luna's leadership during this period demonstrated remarkable sophistication. She coordinated different bear family groups in specialized tasks, ensuring that all aspects of valley safety were addressed. Her organizational abilities suggested levels of social complexity previously unrecognized in wild animals. The valley's human residents began incorporating the bears' natural warning systems into their own emergency planning. They learned to recognize and respond to the bears' alert signals, creating an unprecedented level of cooperation between species in environmental safety management. As winter approached, bringing new challenges to test the bears' preparations, their response to potential environmental threats had created lasting changes in scientific understanding of animal intelligence and social organization. Their sophisticated planning and implementation demonstrated capabilities that would influence wildlife research and conservation practices for years to come. Winter descended upon the Bitterroot Valley with unprecedented ferocity, bringing with it challenges that would test the limits of both human endurance and ursine intelligence. Sarah Mitchell woke one morning to find her world transformed by a polar vortex that had plunged temperatures to historic lows. Through her frosted windows, she witnessed an extraordinary sight. The valley's bear population was implementing what appeared to be a sophisticated cold weather survival strategy, one that would redefine understanding of wildlife adaptation. Luna, despite the season when bears typically entered deep hibernation, maintained a state of semi-activity that puzzled wildlife experts. Dr. Elena Martinez's research team documented how the matriarch was coordinating what appeared to be a community-wide response to the extreme weather conditions. The bears had begun creating elaborate snow shelters using techniques that showed remarkable engineering sophistication. The first evidence of their extraordinary adaptation appeared in the form of complex tunnel systems beneath the snow. These weren't simple dens, but interconnected pathways that allowed the bears to move throughout their territory while protected from the brutal surface conditions. The design of these structures showed an understanding of thermal dynamics that challenged conventional beliefs about animal intelligence. Thunder and Atlas had taken on specialized roles in this winter adaptation. Their massive strength was being used to create and maintain ventilation shafts throughout the tunnel system, ensuring fresh air circulation while minimizing heat loss. Their methodical approach to this task demonstrated an understanding of environmental engineering that left researchers astounded. Willow's innovative spirit proved crucial in developing new techniques for accessing food sources during the extreme cold. She began teaching younger bears how to locate and excavate food caches through the deep snow, using methods that conserved energy while maximizing success. Her problem-solving abilities suggested levels of tactical planning previously unobserved. In wildlife, the valley's human residents found themselves learning from their ursine neighbors' survival strategies. The bears' snow tunnels often revealed safer routes through the treacherous winter landscape, and their food location techniques helped identify areas where emergency supplies could be safely stored. This unexpected cooperation transformed understanding of human-wildlife interaction during extreme weather events. Dr. James Wilson's team documented remarkable instances of bears actively working to protect other wildlife species during the harsh conditions. They would clear paths to water sources, share food caches with smaller animals, and even create shelter spaces that other creatures could access. This demonstration of cross-species assistance suggested levels of empathy and social awareness that revolutionized wildlife behavior studies. Sarah's cameras captured extraordinary footage of bears implementing what appeared to be a community-wide thermal management system. They would rotate between different shelter areas, sharing body heat efficiently while maintaining continuous activity cycles that kept vital pathways open. Their coordination showed sophisticated understanding of group survival strategies. The most fascinating aspect of these developments was how the bears adapted their teaching methods for winter survival. Older bears would demonstrate specific techniques to younger ones, showing them how to conserve energy while maintaining essential activities. These teaching sessions revealed complex knowledge transfer systems previously unknown in wild animals. Dr. Thompson's research revealed that the bears were actively modifying their traditional hibernation patterns in response to the changing climate. Rather than entering long periods of deep sleep, they had developed a rotating rest system that allowed them to maintain necessary survival activities throughout the winter. This adaptation suggested remarkable behavioral plasticity. The scientific implications of these developments extended far beyond winter survival. The bears had demonstrated ability to create and maintain complex physical infrastructure, implement sophisticated social organization, and adapt traditional behaviors to meet new challenges. Their achievements suggested cognitive capabilities that would transform understanding of animal intelligence. As the polar vortex intensified, the bears' adaptation strategies revealed new depths of problem-solving ability. They began creating what researchers termed thermal highways, carefully maintained pathways that connected various resource points while minimizing exposure to extreme conditions. Their engineering showed remarkable understanding of energy conservation principles. The valley's unique bear population had effectively created a winter survival system that benefited the entire ecosystem. Their methods combined natural instinct with learned behaviors in ways that suggested remarkable adaptive intelligence. Researchers noted how younger bears were not just copying their elders, but actively contributing new innovations to their survival strategies. Luna's leadership during this crisis demonstrated extraordinary sophistication. She coordinated different bear family groups in specialized tasks, ensuring that all aspects of winter survival were addressed. Her organizational abilities suggested levels of social complexity previously unrecognized in wild animals. The implications of these developments reached far beyond immediate survival concerns. The bears had shown that animals could develop sophisticated responses to extreme climate events, adapting their natural abilities to address unprecedented challenges. Their example offered new perspectives on wildlife adaptation in an era of climate change. Sarah's documentation of these activities provided crucial insights into animal intelligence and social organization. Her photographs captured moments of extraordinary cooperation and innovation among the bears, showing how they combined individual skills and knowledge to create effective group responses to environmental challenges. The valley's human residents found themselves increasingly reliant on the bears' winter survival strategies. They learned to recognize and follow the animals' thermal highways, understanding that the bears' route choices often represented the safest and most energy-efficient paths through the dangerous winter landscape. As the extreme weather continued, to test the valley's resilience, the bears' response to unprecedented conditions had created lasting changes in scientific understanding of wildlife adaptation. Their sophisticated survival strategies demonstrated capabilities that would influence research into animal intelligence and social organization for years to come. The spring thaw brought an unexpected revelation to the Bitterroot Valley, as rising temperatures unveiled mysterious markings etched into tree bark throughout the territory. Sarah Mitchell's trained eye recognized these weren't typical bear claw marks, but something far more deliberate. Through her camera lens, she documented what appeared to be a sophisticated system of symbols. The bears had developed their own form of written communication. Dr. Elena Martinez assembled an emergency research team to study this extraordinary development. The markings showed clear patterns of repetition and variation, suggesting intentional information transfer rather than random scratching. More remarkably, the symbols appeared to correspond to specific locations, resources, and potential hazards throughout the valley. Luna's role in this communication system proved particularly fascinating. The matriarch would regularly inspect and update certain markings, adding new elements that seemed to reflect changing conditions in the territory. Her behavior suggested not just participation in, but active maintenance of, what amounted to a primitive writing system. The first breakthrough in understanding these marks came when Willow was observed teaching younger bears how to interpret them. She would lead cubs to different marked trees, demonstrating specific behaviors that corresponded to the symbols present. This teaching behavior revealed a structured approach to knowledge transfer that challenged conventional understanding of animal communication. Thunder and Atlas had developed specialized roles in this marking system, using their greater size and strength to create deeply carved symbols that would endure seasonal weather changes. Their careful attention to detail and placement suggested an understanding of long-term information preservation that amazed researchers. Dr. James Wilson's team documented how different bear family groups would regularly gather around certain marked trees, engaging in what appeared to be information exchange sessions. These meetings showed evidence of social learning and collective knowledge building that suggested sophisticated cognitive capabilities. The valley's human residents watched in amazement as the bears' communication system expanded beyond simple location markers. New symbols began appearing that seemed to convey more complex information, weather patterns, seasonal changes, and even potential future events. The bears were effectively creating a recorded history of their territory. Sarah's photography captured crucial evidence of how this marking system was being used to coordinate community activities. Bears would refer to the marks before beginning cooperative tasks, suggesting they served as a form of planning tool. This level of organized information sharing transformed understanding of animal intelligence. The most extraordinary aspect of this development was how the marking system began influencing other wildlife species. Researchers observed deer, elk, and even smaller animals paying attention to the bear's marks, seemingly learning to interpret basic warnings or resource indicators. This cross-species communication suggested unprecedented levels of ecological cooperation. Dr. Thompson's ongoing research revealed that the bears were actively expanding their symbol vocabulary. New marks would appear in response to changing conditions or novel situations, showing evidence of linguistic evolution. This adaptive communication system demonstrated remarkable cognitive flexibility. The scientific implications of these discoveries extended far beyond animal behavior studies. The bears had developed a primitive form of written communication independently, suggesting that the gap between human and animal intelligence might be narrower than previously thought. Their achievements challenged fundamental assumptions about cognitive development. As spring progressed, the marking system revealed new layers of sophistication. The bears began creating what appeared to be temporal indicators, symbols that changed with the seasons to reflect shifting resource availability and potential hazards. This understanding of time and change suggested remarkable levels of abstract thinking. Luna's leadership in developing this communication system showed extraordinary foresight. She ensured that knowledge was preserved and transmitted effectively across generations, creating what amounted to a primitive educational system. Her methods demonstrated remarkable understanding of information preservation and transfer. The valley's unique bear population had effectively created their own historical record system. Their marks told stories of past events, current conditions, and potential future challenges. This temporal awareness suggested levels of consciousness previously unrecognized in wildlife. Willow's innovative contributions to the marking system revealed new possibilities for animal communication. She developed new symbols for complex concepts, showing an understanding of abstract representation that transformed scientific understanding of animal cognition. The implications of these developments reached far beyond the valley's boundaries. The bears had demonstrated that animals could develop sophisticated systems for recording and sharing information, suggesting new possibilities for understanding the evolution of communication itself. Sarah's documentation of these developments provided crucial insights into the emergence of symbolic thinking in wildlife. Her photographs captured the process of knowledge transfer and symbol creation, showing how the bears were actively expanding their communication capabilities. The scientific community struggled to categorize this new form of animal communication. It wasn't quite writing in the human sense, but it was far more sophisticated than typical animal marking behaviors. the bears had created something entirely new, challenging existing frameworks for understanding animal intelligence. As summer approached, bringing new challenges and opportunities, the bears' marking system continued to evolve. They created new symbols for changing conditions, demonstrating remarkable ability to adapt their communication methods to meet emerging needs. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Bitterroot Valley as Sarah Mitchell prepared for what would be her final photography session with the extraordinary bear community that had transformed scientific understanding of wildlife intelligence. Age had begun to slow her steps, but her photographer's eye remained sharp as ever. Through her lens, she captured a sight that would serve as a fitting culmination to this remarkable story. Luna, now in her twilight years, was orchestrating what appeared to be a formal transfer of leadership to the next generation. The ceremony, if it could be called that, unfolded with remarkable sophistication. Luna had gathered the entire bear community in a natural amphitheater formed by ancient rock formations. Dr. Elena Martinez's research team watched in amazement as the matriarch systematically demonstrated key behaviors and responsibilities to younger bears, with Willow showing particular aptitude for the complex social and environmental management tasks being passed down. The significance of this transition extended far beyond simple survival skills. Luna was effectively transferring decades of accumulated knowledge about maintaining the delicate balance between wildlife and human communities. Her methods showed remarkable awareness of the need to preserve and protect the unique social structure that had developed in the valley. Thunder and Atlas, themselves showing signs of age, participated in this succession planning with extraordinary deliberation. They demonstrated complex territorial management techniques to younger male bears, showing them how to maintain boundaries while fostering cooperation rather than conflict. Their approach suggested sophisticated understanding of long-term social stability. The valley's human residents watched this transition with mixed emotions. They had witnessed the evolution of an unprecedented partnership between species, and now they were seeing how this remarkable community ensured its continuation. The bears had developed methods for preserving their unique culture across generations. Dr. James Wilson's team documented how the bears were systematically passing down their sophisticated environmental management techniques. Younger bears were being taught not just how to maintain the valley's complex ecological systems, but why each element was important. This understanding of causality suggested remarkable levels of cognitive development. Willow's role in this transition proved particularly fascinating. She had developed innovative methods for combining traditional bear wisdom with new approaches to emerging challenges. Her ability to bridge between established practices and necessary adaptations demonstrated remarkable intelligence and leadership capability. The most extraordinary aspect of this leadership transition was how it incorporated the entire valley ecosystem. The bears weren't just passing down knowledge about their own species, they were transmitting understanding of how to maintain the delicate balance between all the valley's inhabitants, both wild and human. Sarah's cameras captured remarkable moments of knowledge transfer between generations. Older bears would demonstrate complex behaviors, then watch patiently as younger ones practiced and refined these skills. This structured approach to learning suggested sophisticated understanding of educational principles. Dr. Thompson's research revealed that the bears were effectively creating what amounted to specialized roles within their community. Bears were being trained for specific responsibilities, from environmental management to human relations, showing remarkable understanding of social organization and specialization. The scientific implications of this succession process challenged fundamental assumptions about animal society. The bears had developed methods for preserving and transmitting complex cultural knowledge across generations, suggesting levels of social sophistication previously thought unique to humans. Luna's careful orchestration of this transition demonstrated extraordinary foresight. She wasn't simply passing down survival skills, but ensuring the preservation of the unique social and environmental management systems that had developed in the valley. Her methods showed remarkable understanding of cultural preservation. The valley's unique bear population had effectively created a sustainable model for wildlife-human cooperation. Their sophisticated social structure and environmental management techniques had transformed scientific understanding of animal intelligence. And now they were ensuring this knowledge would be preserved for future generations. As autumn painted the valley in rich colors, the bear community continued its careful transition to new leadership. Younger bears were taking on increasing responsibility under the watchful guidance of their elders, demonstrating remarkable ability to maintain and build upon established practices. Sarah's documentation of these developments provided crucial insights into the evolution of animal society. Her photographs captured moments of extraordinary cooperation and knowledge transfer, showing how the bears had created sustainable systems for preserving their unique culture. The implications of these developments reached far beyond immediate wildlife management concerns. The bears had demonstrated that animals could develop and maintain sophisticated social systems across generations, suggesting new possibilities for long-term conservation and species cooperation. The scientific community watched in amazement as the bears implemented what amounted to a formal succession plan. Their methods for preserving and transmitting knowledge challenged existing frameworks for understanding animal intelligence and social organization. As winter approached, bringing with it the promise of renewal, the valley stood as a testament to the extraordinary possibilities that emerge when humans open their minds to the intelligence and capability of wildlife. The bears had created something unprecedented, a sustainable model of cooperation between species that would influence scientific understanding for generations to come. The story that began with a simple act of kindness in Sarah's garden had grown into something that transformed our understanding of wildlife intelligence and species cooperation. It offered hope that humans and animals could find new ways to share our changing world, creating partnerships that benefit all species. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.